Full time. Chelsea 2, Liverpool 1. Mark Donaldson, Janusz, Michallik to look back on what has just happened at Stamford Bridge. Lightning striking twice, Janusz, 7 days ago. They went to Palace, Liverpool, and conceded, having gone a goal down, a second goal in stoppage time. They've done the same again. Great win for Chelsea. What on earth is the headline from this game?
Many crises for Liverpool, or maybe full-on crisis. You know, you can slice it both ways, and I certainly could explain it both ways. They obviously know how it feels right now because they've been doing that. But remember, you know, they were just before this game, they were top of the Premier League, and we're all saying, well, just imagine when they start playing well. Well, I think, you know, Liverpool will start playing well eventually, right? It just, you know, just a matter of how long is it going to take, and is it going to be too late or not? It's early season for sure, but I think if you're out on the slot right now, you really have to take these next 2 weeks during the international break to figure out who his team is, because at this point, I don't think he has an idea. And right now, if I asked you, Mark, who their best player is, you'd be hard-pressed to tell me. The exception of Alisson, the only player that plays that wasn't even here, right? I mean, you'd be hard-pressed to point out one player that's playing up to their potential. So it's not good. It's early. You can react just 1 point behind. But, you know, not long ago, we were talking about, you know, Arsenal dropping important points, and it's going to be difficult to chase down Liverpool. Here we are.
That's back-to-back defeats in the Premier League for the first time since Klopp in 2023. I think it was Bournemouth and Manchester City. There's a lot to speak about Liverpool, but I want to start with Chelsea. That's important. This isn't Liverpool have lost back-to-back 3 games in a week. This is about Chelsea. This is about the headline of Chelsea scoring late, Estêvão scoring late. Did they deserve it over the piece?
Absolutely. Even with 1 point, you know, my thinking would have been, yeah, Liverpool is going to take that point because it keeps them level with Arsenal, but Chelsea aren't going to be happy with that, right? And towards the end, you could see it happen. And that's why, you know, in the second half, the adjustment, you would have thought in terms of talent and everything else would have been on Liverpool's side, but it wasn't. Towards the end was the substitutions from Chelsea. And mind you, with such a, you know, makeshift back four. I mean, they even during the game, they've lost both center backs, the young center backs, because everybody else, you know, in terms of the Chalobahs, Colwells and Fofanas and who else is there? I mean, they've lost everybody. I mean, you know, if Reece James, not going to got injured, Mark, you would have had to go and play at center back for them, right? And you look at the substitution, the versus who's coming on the pitch, Jones, Ekitike. And yet, towards the end, chance after chance, for the most part, was for Chelsea, right? Because, Estêvão and Gittins had a pretty close chances. And in the end, it was Estêvão, the young Estêvão, that finished it. So, look, Chelsea absolutely deserved it. They bossed the first 45 minutes. They were all over Liverpool. More energy, hungrier, better, just about in every department. Moises Caicedo, I mean, all by himself, boss that midfield, and there are some pretty good players in the midfield of Liverpool.
I'm not a big proponent of XG. I totally respect it and understand it. And when you see that from his 3 goals, Caicedo's expected goal value is 0.51 or something like that, he only scores bangers. And you just think, when you watch it back again, you think, is he taking an extra touch? But it's just the perfect goal from him. What did Liverpool do wrong? Who should have been getting closer to Moises Caicedo from their perspective?
Well, it's Van Dijk that didn't pressure the ball. And, you could see that he had 2 players, but in the end, the ball is always most important, right? So if he steps up, I'm trying to remember who was the run, although I think Kerkesh would have been at fault not looking after the wide player. But, if you don't know what to do and nobody's helping you, such an experience and one of the best center backs in Europe has to know that he's got to step up to that. I mean, he was teeing that up for 5 seconds, right? So when you're stepping up, as a defender, you always think, what if he slips that through? But you got to be thinking in today's game, if I'm stepping up, there's always a chance of offside, because that's what you do. You hope your line's going to follow you. But even if that's not the case, knowing that Caicedo is very much capable of that, right? What's the most important thing on the pitch? It's the ball. You have to step up and pressure that. So maybe he pulls out of it. So Van Dijk, I tell you what, didn't want to get dirty there for sure.
the rest of the first half, Chelsea going in 1-0. Then we got a change after 45 minutes when Florian Wirtz came on for Connor Bradley. What did you see from Liverpool in the second half before they got the equaliser that impressed you more than what you saw from them in the first half?
Well, I mean, not much impressed me. It really in the second half, because you would have thought that Liverpool were going to take advantage of the fact that Chelsea absolutely wanted to win the game, right? I mean, the game was wide open. It was perfect for Liverpool. I mean, when Liverpool have to play possession game and thread the needle and find that sometimes gives them problems. It gives everybody problems. It's not an easy thing to do. So in a game such, it was so wide open, you would have thought that Liverpool would say, oh, this is ours. And, look, Liverpool had their chances. Mo Salah continues to struggle. Those two shots, when he comes inside that went wide and high, obviously he's not in form as well. I thought that the first touch or maybe first and second touch of Wirtz were excellent, although that second one maybe a little bit lucky. But as he was turning, finding Salah there, that was 20 seconds into the second half, and I think, oh, maybe this is the night for Wirtz. You know what? After that, I think he lost every ball. I mean, he's so nervous and lacking confidence. Everybody, I think, saw that even the shortest pass, the first touch, is bad for him. So I can't say that I was all that impressed, because even the substitutions, the lack of trust. I mean, Arne Slot doesn't trust his players now. I mean, Szoboszlai worked hard and had his chances, but I mean, he was getting worked on that right-hand side, right? I mean, by Garnacho and by Cucurella, he was getting worked defensively. Yet you have Frimpong. Whatever you think of him, I mean, he's not a right back necessarily, but he can play. You have Joe Gomez. Why is he never on the pitch? He's got the pace. He's got the physicality to deal with that. And almost as if he doesn't trust any of his players. Afterwards, Gravenberg goes to center back. Again, you have Joe Gomez. You think, there's so many other options that he could have used, and yet he didn't. Endo, everybody loves him when he comes in. Well, why didn't he come in then, right? Came in the last minute or two or whatever it was. So there's a lack of trust amongst the players, and there's maybe a little bit of lack of trust amongst, the coaching staff as well. So I tell you, these 2 weeks, they better figure out, the best 11, 13 players and go with it.
Okay, compare Liverpool's performance before Cody Gakpo equalised and what they offered afterwards.
Oh, I mean, again, before there was no performance. There was just Chelsea. I mean, as I've said, the white areas are not functioning. Bradley with that first yellow card, you always knew it was going to be a liability. And as we found out, he had to go off in the second half. Gakpo, the only player in this game the whole season, if I look at him, he kind of looks okay, right? And it's almost, because I asked if there's one player that's played well, I mentioned Alisson. I think Gakpo, not just because he scored today, but at least he looks dangerous. He looks himself. Let's put it that way. And after that, it was wide open. I would have bet that Liverpool were going to take advantage of that, because that's an absolute strength of Liverpool when the game's this wide open. And in fact, towards the end, got worse and worse and worse. And Chelsea were creating chance after chance after chance.
Credit to Maresca, because Liverpool get back in it, and then within 10 minutes, he's like, right, okay, I'm going to go for this. I want to win this game. On came Gale for João Pedro. On came Gittins for Garnacho. On came Estêvão for Neto. Now, anybody that watches the highlights of any football game in the world, you always know that when they show a substitution, that substitute's going to be involved for some reason. So when you watch the highlights of this game, you'll see Estêvão coming on for Pedro Neto after 75 minutes. And then you'll see the winning goal. It's a great bit of work down the left-hand side, drilled ball across. And it's one of these, you don't buy a ticket, you don't win the raffle. You've got to gamble, you've got to try and get in there. And he scores a brilliant goal. The celebration is phenomenal as well. Let's talk about that winning goal and what you saw both from a Chelsea and a Liverpool perspective.
Well, again, it started on the left-hand side, and in the end, look, I mean, it's easy to pick right now, but when I talk about players playing out of position, not being trusted, right? Gravenberg, it looked to me, and again, we're live here, I saw it quickly. It was very late, but it looked to me like Gravenberg let Cucurella go, right? I mean, kept him on side. I mean, I don't want to say he broke the line, because when you're defending that deep, you're not necessarily trying to catch somebody offside, but at the very least, if you're behind, you have to have a play on it, which he didn't. And of course, Andy Robertson on the far post fell asleep, because it wasn't an easy finish, as we saw from that angle, right? It was a pretty acute on a slight like this. As you shift, could the Mamardashvili get there? It's hard to say, but this at this stage, as they say, if you can't win it, don't lose it. It's 97th minute, and you have to say to yourself, that lineup that we saw at Liverpool was all over the shot. Whereas with Chelsea was enforced because all the injuries, especially defensively ahead of the game, then you have two center backs going out. Then you have to change because of the physicality that Chelsea showed in the first half, right? That endless pressing all over the pitch, by the way. I'm not talking about high press. You're going to pay the price for that. So, Maresca smartly had to change a lot of the players. So, some of it was forced with Liverpool. I think Arne Slot and Liverpool were all over the shop. That's the last thing that you expect for Slot and Liverpool. Based on last season, that's unusual. And I'm telling you, there was just confusion just about everywhere on that pitch. Not a lot of discipline at all.
What's happened to Mohamed Salah?
Oof. You know what? I almost wonder, with all the changes, he's paying the price for that a little bit. Aside from the fact that, even when he's on the ball, you can see that there's a little bit of a drop off. Last season, he's been outstanding. If you look at how many years he's been there now, 9 years. And if you look what he's done every season, it has been unbelievable. Now is not the time, especially for me, from my living room, to jump on Mo Salah, who's been so good. So drop a form early on, sign a new contract. Obviously, last season, when you're playing for the contract, whatever the case is, you pay attention a little bit more, I suppose. But the bottom line is, with all the changes and the integration of others, I think he's also paid the price for that, Mark, a little bit, right? Because you could say in those games, in games like these, or in general, everybody looked for Mo Salah. Every ball was going to Mo Salah. Now it's a Ekitike, right? It's Gakpo on the other side. It's Isak. Everybody's trying to get Wirtz going as well, right? So the first looks very often are to Wirtz to see if he can play through the middle wherever he is. And I didn't look if he's getting the ball less, but it seems to me that way, that he's not that he's being forgotten, but I don't think the game goes through him, and he knows he's a star. Everybody knows he's a star, and I think everybody's used to the game sort of going through him. When in doubt, what do? You go to Mo Salah.
Yeah, of course.
You feel that was the way, that has been the way this season? Not so sure.
There was an interesting quote, the ESPN FC. There was an article that I think it was Rob Dawson had written, and it was the quotes from Arne Slot, just saying, look, I'm not panicking. The new boys maybe taking a little bit longer than we would have hoped to integrate and to gel, but it will happen. It's got to happen quickly now, because Wirtz hasn't worked so far. I'm sure he will. Isak got the assist today, maybe still not 100%. How long should it take for 2, 3, maybe 4 new signings to come into a side? Frimpong doesn't start right now. Connor Bradley was the one that started. How long should it take for these players to gel into what was already a system that was working very well with the personnel it had last season?
Look, that's so hard. Look at somebody like Kerkez, right? There should be no adaptation. He's played in the Premier League, right? We often say, well, it's come from a different country and all that. But here you have Kerkez, who is outstanding, who knows the Premier League, who knows the attackers on that side inside out. And look how much he's struggling as well. So I'll flip it on you, because, like Isak, you can say hasn't been bad, right? To come in, has been scoring.
Can't judge him.
You can't judge him. There's a bigger issue. Right now, there's so much talent in Liverpool, but there's no team. Last year, there was a clear team, right, that came over. From the season before, Arne Slot took over a team without any players being bought, with the exception of Chiesa, who didn't really play all that much, was injured. Now, obviously, Liverpool didn't do this just for this season. All the players and all the money they've spent is to make sure the Liverpool Football Club is very successful for next 2, 3, 4, 5 years. So I'm not going to push a panic button, because it's going to happen. The biggest issue right now is the organization, especially defensively. That's 9 goals conceded already. We all know, look, you can say all you want about Trent, you can say all about Robo, but at their best, right, together with Van Dijk, there was a unit. The midfield 3 will be fine. They're very much capable of protecting that back 4, but they have to do a lot more than they've done in the past, because that back 4 used to protect itself for the most part. Mm-hmm. And then you have those 3, and you have a block of, defenders and midfielders that any team finds difficult to play against. So that's the first thing. You have 2 weeks to say, okay, these are the players for next 3 or 4 or 5 games. Not many changes, but defensively we have to be sound. Liverpool has enough going forward. They will take care of it by themselves if the back 4 and the midfield is right.
Just 2 clean sheets this season. Just 1 game won by more than 1 goal. And there have been times where they've got away with it because they are such a good side. They never know when to give up. They score late goals. But over the piece, this isn't what Liverpool fans were expecting. It's not what we were expecting after a transfer window that we saw from Liverpool in the summer. Is it a good thing now that there's an international break before the Man United game at Anfield?
Excellent, as I said, because now is the time, right? I mean, look, you have Champions League every 2 or 3 games. You have League Cup. You're playing all the time, right? So now's the time. Yes, a lot of these key players will go away, and of course, you hope that nobody's going to get injured. But I think it's a little bit of a reset right now. There's still another international break, by the way. But at the moment, especially ahead of Manchester United game, right? I mean, that's when they come back, that's a massive, massive game. One that at this stage Liverpool has to win. I mean, a loss there, or even a draw, that's more points dropped. And you and I have been covering today Arsenal are the best team in the league. I said that before this game, and I stay with it at this particular moment. But the bottom line is, it's still just a point, right? Arsenal gave them a couple of mulligans before that, dropping points. Now it's Liverpool's turn. But as I've said, they have to do it quickly, because I think at this moment, one of those 2 teams is going to go on a run, and when it becomes 6, 7, 8 points, as we all know from history, that's very often impossible to cover.
It was nice of Maresca to get a red card just to continue the streak for
That's
Chelsea.
actually pretty irresponsible, right? I mean, I'm sure he's been asking all these players. We've got 3.
Is it a red card for taking off down the? I don't know what the red card, because it was a second. Was that a second yellow, or was it a straight red? Was it for taking off and leaving his technical area?
Look, we don't like it, right? But I mean, those are the laws of the game. I'm assuming it's for celebrating the goal.
The last minute against Liverpool. Honestly, I'd pull the hammy, but I'd still be off.
Sure, but when you ask your players for being disciplined, right? I mean, you probably don't want your manager not being there. I'm with you on that. And so is every fan that's listening to this, I'm sure. But, it's another record, right? That's what, 4 out of the last 5 games. So if a manager asks players for discipline, you got to keep it. But I know it's hard when you get a winner in 90, what was it, 5th, 6th minute?
Where does this leave Chelsea?
Same as it was before, because I still have many questions about that team, right? Injuries obviously play a big part. We've said it, Mark, you and I think last week, right? We're not going to cry for them. They have 50-some players. I mean, they buy them left and right. But, what's happening in the back, let's be honest, it's unusual. I mean, they've lost how many now? 5, 6, 7 center backs. And, we'll see who recovers and how quickly. But, that is an issue. What they've got going is, Caicedo, who's been by far their best player this season, maybe in the whole 20, year so far. I mean, he's been outstanding. If they recover players, this is a boost. But unlike Liverpool, where they can use international break, for Chelsea, I bet you they wish there was a game like 3 days from now.
Their next game's at Forest on the 18th of October, a 7:30 Eastern time kickoff before they face Ajax in the Champions League. That'll do us. It's been a busy day with Arsenal top of the table after a 2-0 victory. Just to end with, there's many differences between Enzo Maresca and myself. One of us celebrated a late winner today and got a red card. The other one maintained his professionalism as Hearts scored in stoppage time to win the Edinburgh Derby while we were on air by 1-0. I'll go and celebrate now. And Janusz, Hibs might have the best song, but Hearts get all 3 points.
I'm going to choose not to rain on your parade.
Thank you. Goodbye.